Are we all being shy, not turning cameras on? Oh, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, people. Good stuff. We'll wait. We'll give it a couple of minutes to see who joins. We're getting people joining. Good stuff. How are we all doing this week? On Friday, I've seen you on Wednesday. It feels like I've seen you other days. How are we all doing? We good?
Yeah. Excited about our mentors.
Excited. Yeah. Did you?
Excited.
Yeah. Yeah. Has everybody got? Everybody here heard back? Got? You had an email back?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you haven't, you will soon. We're in the process of letting people know who their mentors are. Do you know what I mean? Dre, you staying off camera. Hi, Alex. Hi, Rukina. Yeah, it's good. Good. Wait, do you know what? Hey, D. How you doing, darling? You all right? Good. No, that's cool. That's cool. You're joining from a phone. No problem. No problem. We get that. We're going to, do you know what? Because we haven't got a lot of time and we've got Ben here, I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to kind of jump into it just very quickly. Just to say though, the reason we kind of responded when we were doing the leadership stuff, we were so involved in kind of just making sure you got the right mindset and all that good stuff that actually some of the industry stuff was a little bit missing. And it was glad, thank you so much for pointing that out and saying that you wanted more industry talks. So hence why we invited Ben. Also, a lot of you guys had asked for Ben to be a mentor. And obviously he can't mentor everybody, and it would have been really unfair to ask Ben to make a choice about who he's going to mentor. So it's just great to be able to have him here and do a Q&A. And thank you guys for those who've sent questions in advance. And we're just going to get into it. Without further ado, we're just going to get into it and welcome Ben. Thank you, Ben, for coming. Thanks.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, let's spotlight Ben and take the spotlight off me. You know what I mean?
Well,
yeah, thanks so much, Ben, for coming. And most of you,
very welcome.
Yeah, me and Ben have worked. Ben's been a real kind of advocate in this space and has done some amazing work in the space, particularly around working with production companies. Most of us know his reputation and the works that he's done, the amazing turnaround that he's done with Channel 5. So it's a real honor and a pleasure to have you here with us, sir.
Good to be here.
Yeah, are we good? Are we having a good week? Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, terrible week.
Yeah.
It's been a terrible week.
Yeah.
But there you go. Lessons are always learned. You're always learning lessons, and you're always, hopefully we won't make the same mistakes again. And yeah, I've had better weeks. I'm glad it's Friday.
Yeah, I think that's all a feeling. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just jump in. We ask people to send questions in advance.
Okay.
And I'm just going to kind of jump in. Most people know who you are, so I'm not, I don't need to go delve into your bio and what you've done, and people can ask questions. One of the first questions that somebody asked, obviously we're doing a leadership program and looking at how we can be better leaders and how we can sharpen the industry. One of the first things somebody's asked is, and this is from Cecilia, I don't know if she's here yet, but she's asked, what would you say is some of the good qualities, or the qualities of a good leader?
I think you have to, I think you have to have a clear idea about where you're going and where the people you're working with should be going. So what is the direction of travel? You are the leader, therefore you've got to be clear about, you can't keep changing direction, everyone will get confused. I think it's really helpful to try and have an understanding of individual personalities. People work much better if you can approach them and talk to them and nurture them, playing to their strengths and minimizing their weaknesses, identifying their weaknesses so that you don't exploit those weaknesses, et cetera, et cetera. I really think having some kind of, I do sort of like, not psychological analysis, but I like to think that each of my commissioning editors, for example, they're all very different personalities. And the way I operate with them as individuals is very different, because they are individual personalities. I think a really good leader allows people to grow and is not threatened by people's growth. So Sebastian Cardwell, who does drama for Channel 5, 5-6 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, he was scheduling movies. And I just thought that is a very talented person. And I keep giving him more and more and more responsibilities. He does drama. He's my number 2 now. I go through moments of anguish where I go, I'm blinking, oh, what have I done? Because he's actually maybe better than me. I better up my game a bit more. But I would never, ever keep somebody in a box because they might be a threat to being better than me. I love to surround myself with people who are cleverer than me. And I think allowing people to grow and giving them the chance to take on more responsibility, to take ownership, to make their own mistakes, knowing that you will have to take the bullet for the mistakes, as I did this week. That's what I get paid for. I'm the one whose name is in the frame, whether I made the mistake or not, it's by the by. Yeah, I think that they are, so I think clarity of vision, understanding how to work people as individually, as individuals, best of all, in order to get the best results from them, running a collaborative culture, obviously, and then allowing people to grow and own their areas. Letting go in order to grow.
Letting go in order to grow. And it's funny, we spoke a lot about detachment, commitment and detachment this week. We had a session on Wednesday, and that was the theme, this kind of idea of attachment and outcome, and being kind of slightly separate from the outcome. I know you've been a challenging week, and actually when I asked you how your week was, I completely forgot the challenging week.
Don't worry, I'm cool. Okay.
Just on the theme that somebody's asked, Danny Copperton has asked, what would you say is one of your biggest failures in your career, and how did you tackle that, and what did you learn from that, and how did that make you grow and become better? What would you say was one of the biggest challenges, one of those moments where you thought, fuck, oh my God, this is really, and that thank you.
Oh, golly me. Failures in my career. Well, I think my general failing in my career is, I've had quite a successful career, really. I would think all my jobs end in tears. I always end up going, that's it, I'm out of here now. Throw my toys out the pram. And I'm trying to avoid that being a constant, but it happened at sort of Channel 4. Happened at Channel 5. Well, they fired me at Channel 5. I mean, just for them getting rid of a load of people. Happened at TV3. My biggest, I'll tell you what I think is a really interesting trait, because I was talking about it today, defensiveness. I think my defensiveness generally has probably created more problems for me than it needed to. And I was talking to somebody today about somebody in my team who is defensive. Now, because I know they're defensive, I know how to approach them in order to make them not feel defensive, but I can still get the outcome I want. So I can go to this person and go, you know what, that's not working for me. You need to do this, that, and the other. And they'll just go, and you've got a shitstorm on your hand. Or you can go and go, how are you finding this? Are you enjoying it? Do you think there's any areas that we should be concerned about? Blah, 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 blah. And I can get everything that I want, but without them going, stop attacking me. I think you're questioning my judgment. I think you're making me, raising questions about whether you think I'm up to the job or not. You're questioning my editorial stance, et cetera, et cetera. So I think being defensive, I think it's a creative thing. I mean, I'm not a business person. And I position myself very clearly in the business. I mean, it's a real business. I mean, it's a lot of money talk and that kind of thing. I can't read a budget sheet. I don't really understand how television works, which is why I can't get my television to work quite often. I don't understand a lot. I understand editorial. I understand content. I understand viewers. I'm very, very, very good at that. But consequently, as being a creative person, I think makes me particularly defensive, because I think creative people have an innate insecurity to them, or I like to think so, which is what drives their creativity. They're always wanting to prove that they've still got it, that they can still create, that they're still leaders, that they're still original, that they can still have, in my case, hit shows, etc. But we need a lot of reassurance. And if my boss, Maria Kiriakou, doesn't say every 4 months, I think you're brilliant, I kind of go, oh my God, what am I doing wrong? Why is she not praising me? Has she gone off me? Is she trying to get rid of me? Does she want somebody else here? I mean, I'm 60 in a couple of months. I've still got that deep insecurity. And I think that the defensiveness is the kind of reaction to insecurity, and is very, it's not aggressive, but it's quite, it pushes people away. And so therefore it doesn't help in terms of managing the insecurity. Does that make any sense at all?
No, I think it does, and actually leads really nicely to the next question. Somebody said that this is really resonates, and I think for a lot of people it does, because Bushra was saying that she's heard you describe yourself as not being part of the club and an outsider when compared with.
Well, I'm not a politician, and I'm not a networker. I mean, I don't go to the club, and I don't know Ian Katz. I don't know who the great and the good are. Maria was saying today, well, I'll just pick up the phone to Ian McVeigh, McVeigh, Pact, and I was thinking, gosh, I've got nobody on my network at all. I mean, I couldn't call anybody. Yes, and I don't mind that, but I think that probably in a way, my insecurity has fed that because I don't want to be rejected. Therefore, I will never put myself into a position, I will never apply for a job in case I get rejected. Rejection to me is like the worst thing. For somebody to say, no, I don't. That's why I don't work in the independent sector. Because the idea, I come up with really good ideas, but the idea of some snotty little commissioner in some fucking broadcaster saying, oh, I don't think it's a very good idea. And I go, excuse me, I'm like fucking 60 years old. I've got a track record of hit show. And you're saying you don't think it's a good idea. I mean, I could not live with myself. So, so that's why I control my, I'm sort of in a controlled environment, which is great. And I'm, you know, and the way I measure my success is not by networking or winning awards. It's by keep having hit shows, keep delivering the ratings. Yes, I've still got it. Yes, I'm still really good at what I do. Yes, I still understand the audience. Yes, I'm backing the trend. So the ratings in a way are my reassurance. Yeah, so go back to, I think insecurity can be a really good thing. You take that negativity and you use it as a tool to power you forward, you know, to prove people wrong, to, you know, make clear how talented you are. You don't have to be part of a club in order to be the best in the business. You can be an individual doing it on your own and still be, you know, the person that everybody looks up to and admires and respects, etc. But I think defensiveness can be, it sets you off on the wrong foot. I just got a little pop up there. It sets you off on the wrong foot with people. Somebody come up to me and you immediately go, oh, hang on a minute, and you've got a fight on your hands. It's a negative, and then you're misunderstanding each other, and then you've got off to a really bad relationship, if it can recover at all. It gets you absolutely nowhere. So it's really worth thinking, is somebody trying to wind me up? What are they actually asking? Are they attacking me? Or are they just asking a question in the wrong way that makes me get my back up? And how am I reacting to them? And can I turn it around?
Yeah, it's back to that detachment thing of just having a certain level of detachment so that you know that you can focus on the project rather than feeling like it's a personal thing. That question around not being part of the club, and I think it's described as a good thing, and many of us on this call will kind of relate to that feeling slightly on the outside of the industry. What kind of advice would you give for outsiders like us as well, on how we can be good leaders and make a real difference in the industry while being true to self? So the fact that you are, you know, you're not part of the kind of, you know, the mechanics and the networking, the la-di-das, but you're able to be yourself and sharp as yourself and have a real amazing impact on the industry. What advice would you give on
be yourself?
How we can do that? Yeah,
I think the hardest thing is to truly be yourself, and to, you know, you've got to like yourself. And I think you should be able to identify the bits of you that are good and strong and fantastic and empowering and whatever, and the bits of you that are, in my case, defensive, insecure, gossipy, probably. I mean, well, I've probably got loads of negative things, but I think it is really true to be yourself. And you mentioned something about, at the moment, everything is incredibly sensitive. You know, almost anywhere you look on any subject, you can upset people very, very quickly. We're in a heightened environment at the moment. And I think if you, I go back to something that Wincy Knight, who's our sort of head of diversity and inclusion at Viacom, says, you've got to be able to have the conversation. You've got to be able to have the conversation. You've got to be able to have the conversation. And that means that even if people get things wrong, engage in a conversation. I'm kind of veering off a track here. I'm trying to answer two sort of questions because I'm picking up something that you said earlier, as well as asking this thing about how do you should always be yourself. I'm honest, I'm direct. I try not to be rude, but I'm very direct. I'm very truthful. I highlight the good. I highlight the bad. I try to be a really good employee. I try to give my boss what they want, but I will not, but I also am truthful about circumstances I find myself in, or a situation I don't like, or a work ethic that I don't approve of, or a situation that should not have happened and is inexcusable, or whatever. I don't play games. I don't tell people what I think they want to hear, because it's ultimately not helpful and you can't back it up, because when they come back to you and go, well, exactly what did you mean by that? You go, well, I don't know what I meant by that, because I was telling you what I thought you wanted to hear, not what I really think, which is probably completely opposite. So I think it's maybe a hard thing, but for those of people who are not happy or confident in who they are, I would really urge you to try and either get some help with that or have a conversation about it, because without truth, I think it's all built slightly on sand. And the truth gets found out. Who you really are as an individual, not as color or skin or anything like that, but as an individual, and what you believe in and how you work and what you can and can't do, it all gets exposed ultimately. So you have to be true to yourself, and you fess up about your strengths and you fess up about your weaknesses. And hopefully the weaknesses will be easily undermined by the strength. I feel I'm slightly rambling. So that is the first thing. But the second thing is that I'm slightly going back to the defensive thing, which is like how you can always open up your life to have a conversation, accept people will get something wrong, understand that people will make mistakes, understand that people will use the wrong phrase, understand that people are crass, don't think, are instinctive, are rude, are whatever. And that it gives you an opportunity to go, funny you should say it that way. It's not exactly how I would have phrased it, because what we're trying to do at the moment is X, Y, and Z. And I feel quite strongly about that, because I do think that we're in danger of losing the ability to have a conversation about difficult subjects, because everybody is so defensive and reactive and protective and whatever.
No, I tend to agree. I tend to agree with that. I'm going to open the floor. I'm going to ask one more question and open up the floor. I've got some questions here, but see if people on the floor have questions as well. You've talked a lot about kind of feeling a little bit, that insecurity.
Can I just add one thing else onto that? So I'm just going to add on one thing, because it's from my own experience, and I really believe this. The people that you get on with least well, the people that you do not like instinctively, what are they showing you about yourself? Mm-hmm. So I have this thing where, I often meet people. There's somebody in my team at the moment who really rubs me out the wrong way. And the first thing I do is go, what do I do that is like that? Am I like that? God, you know what, Ben, you do. You talk all the time. And that's what really annoys you about them. So other people think that about you. And I think you can always learn from any interaction with somebody, particularly a negative one. It's like, what are people showing you? It's like a mirror back at you. You don't like what you're seeing. So what can you learn from it? And that way, out of any negative can come positive. And I'm a great believer in turning a negative, or in this week, a crisis, into a positive, because otherwise it's a waste of an experience. So that'll be my final thing on that.
No, but I think that's
back to you.
No, but I think it's really important. I do think that there is some truth in terms of when somebody triggers you, they're often showing you something about yourself. And it's so important to take, rather than just kind of putting it all external, to take the moment to kind of say, why am I feeling this? And like oftentimes the people that trigger me the most are doing exactly the thing that I do all the time. That exactly. I'm irritated, and I'm always shocked by it, and never want to admit it to anybody. But it's like, oh shit, I'm that person, and that's
exactly. It's exactly that. Yeah, it's really interesting.
But claiming that is really powerful and really puts you in a really good place. You talked a lot about insecurities and feeling kind of insecure. And someone was saying, do you ever feel insecure about any aspects of your work, and how do you manage, or how do you overcome these feelings? And you've articulated so well that there is a level of insecurity that you have, that you just embrace it. But yeah, and is that how you overcome it? Is that how you kind of make it work for you? But how do you deal with that?
But I think the insecurity drives me to keep proving that I've got it. It's a young person's game. A lot of people say it's a very fragmenting business, television, content, whatever you want to call it, streamers, BVODs, AVODs, SVODs. I don't even know the difference between them all. It's all very, it's very competitive, and so somebody said to me yesterday, we were talking about, the future, and they said, oh, you'll be the last person standing, because without you, there is no, whatever. And I said, I would never think that. I would never think that in a million years, because every day I go, am I worth it? Am I delivering? Am I valuable? What have I done today that has justified my salary? It could have been having this conversation. I think, oh, I've done really good work today. Yeah, it was worth paying me for that. Or I got great ratings, or I came up with a really good idea, or I gave somebody, really good talk, or we had a talk earlier on about, contributor welfare, and maybe there's something I can do to really move that forward. You go, that was good. That was really, that could make a difference. I've justified my salary today, every single day. I would never presume, and I would never assume that I'm really good, that I'm secure. And I think that it's that slight, it's right at the bottom of my stomach. There's a little kind of constant, I'll end up with an ulcer, kind of constant gnawing of anxiety, which is, have I still got it? Can I still do it? What's going to be the next big idea? Is it all going to fall apart? Oh, it's really successful. Is it all going to fall apart? oh, it's really unsuccessful. Am I ever going to make it successful again? No, 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 no. Does Maria like me? Does Sarah like me? I wasn't included in that meeting. Does that mean that I'm excluded from meetings? Therefore, no, 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 no. And it's all try and use it all to try and propel myself forward to do something that makes me go, I still got it, still in the game, still got it, still valuable, still important, still relevant. Relevance is very important. I mean, it's the old things, isn't it? It's validation, appreciation, you know, saying thank you to people. But it's the simplest thing in the world. Just say thank you. Doesn't matter what anybody does. They bring you a cup of tea. They let you go through the door first. Whatever it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To people in the street, thank you, thank you, thank you. Smiling at people, whatever it is. Validation. Well done for doing that. That was really appreciated. You did such a great job on that. Affirmation. You know, we all need it. If you recognize in other people the little contribution that they make or the big contribution that they make, they go, oh, they noticed me. I'm important. I made a difference. I'm valuable. I've got my role. I feel better about myself. And the same applies to us. You know, we need people. I need people to say to me, God, Ben, how do you keep finding the success? You go, oh, yeah, I've still got the success. Or, you know, that was such a great idea that you came up with. Or thank you so much for sorting out that. Or I really appreciate you listening to me. And you go, good. I've got a point and purpose. So the insecurity is very, very valuable. I said to I have a coach. I'm motivated by fear. She thinks it's a really bad thing, but I'm motivated by fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of being ostracized, fear of being poor, fear of not having a job, fear of getting fired. You know, okay, it's like a lot of fear in my life, but you turn it around. You go, but that fear motivates me to keep going and to never give up and to keep defying the critics. So every negative has a positive. Every positive, which is I'm really successful, I'm at the top of my game, I'm the longest serving, this, that, and the other, has a negative, which is complacency, hubris, arrogance, all that kind of thing. So again, looking at the yin and yang, I'm a Buddhist, so I'm a real believer in the old yin and yang and the karma and all that kind of stuff. So I use my negativity, my insecurity, my fear to really propel me forward. And again, am I answering any of these questions?
Do you know what was amazing about that answer? And I don't know whether you guys all relate, but most of us on this call feel what you just said. And we had a conversation on Wednesday and some people felt like, why do I need a coach? And I was trying to explain that actually people who are successful often have a coach, and they have it because it's really important for them. And not really feeling like that kind of need for support suggests that you're weak or you're not good at your game. So to hear you at your level talk about the insecurities that you face, I think a lot of us in this room, and particularly as a Black woman, as I move through this space, and I often have imposter syndrome, or wonder if I'm good enough, or wonder this and that and this and that. To hear you say it at your level, kind of makes me feel I'm
yes.
right.
Well, yes, and I can imagine you probably feel, you know, victimized, ostracized, segregated, whatever, and I can really get that. What I would say is that you don't have to have a coach. Because in my experience of the coaches, that I do all the talking and they do a lot of listening, and they don't really say very much, except I think fear is a really bad thing. And then you work it all out yourself. You need a friend. You need someone who's just not going to talk back at you for a while. If you talk to somebody, each other, enough, you'll find your own answers. The coach doesn't give you the answers. The coach just gives you the space to have a conversation with yourself, which is
absolutely. Yeah, and in this program, everybody's been allocated a coach, and I think that the distinction is the coach hasn't got a vested interest. They don't care whether you're going to get this job, don't get this job. They're just not emotionally involved. And like you said, it is absolutely that space where you can talk.
They're not going to give you the answer. You're going to find your own answer. The coach just helps you facilitate you finding your own answer. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, it's fantastic, they're going to sort out all my problems for me, you are in for a very bumpy ride, because the only person who's going to sort it out is yourself. But what they will do is go, fear? Really? Do you think is that good to be motivated by fear? And then you start talking about it and you go, oh gosh, maybe it's not, but actually it works for me, so that's okay, or whatever.
Yeah, I know. So I hope you guys understand the importance of coach, because I know some people are still struggling. I'm going to open it to the floor. I've got some more questions to ask, but does anybody at this point have any questions that they want to jump in and ask? I want to make sure that everybody gets the maximum from this session. Has anybody got any questions? Just kind of give me a show of hands.
You can ask me anything. I never say no to a question.
Oh, I love it. Ask me anything.
Gets me into trouble sometimes.
What an opportunity. All right, Vinny, yeah.
Hi, Ben.
Hi.
thank you so much for being so honest. I am totally inspired by you anyway, but I'm even more inspired now I've listened to you in person. I did submit a question, Simone, but I'm going to change my question if that's okay.
And I'm going to ask the other question as well. So
yeah, I just wonder, because I think in the TV industry, whether it's with on-screen or off-screen talent, we have a tendency to kind of box people in. And I used to have an editorial career. I'm in a strategic career now. I want to go back into editorial, but I keep being typecast. You know, it's kind of like, no, Vinny, we're going to put you in that box. And you were talking about your drama commissioner, and it's wonderful that you saw his capability and you took him out of that box. But not everybody's like you, Ben.
No.
And I just wondered, you know, what advice you had for, you know, people like me, and I'm sure, you know, my fellow cohorts who do feel kind of hemmed in a box and are dying to escape because they've got other capabilities or, you know, things that they want to showcase.
Yeah, God, it's a tricky one, because I would say I've probably been put in a few boxes in my life. I'm not sure I have the answer for you. I've got to be honest with you. I do think that most people, you know what, it's a security thing to put somebody in a box. It means that you can manage them. You know their parameters. You're not intimidated by them. You can control it, etc., etc. Not in a coercive way, but in a kind of like, I know what they're capable of. And I one of the reasons that I at Channel 5 don't have commissioning genres is because I don't want to put them all in a box. So Guy Davis he's really very, very good at documentaries, and he'd love to be head of documentaries. But that puts him in a box. And I'm going, no, you also need to do returning feature series, and you also need to do a bit of daytime and everything, because it's really good for you to have a broad CV. And so all my, and Daniel Pearl, for instance, who came from Channel 4 doing news and current affairs, he's worked at the BBC, he's worked at Sky. I mean, he's like really, really, really clever. He does our Yorkshire Farm, which is our biggest factual show probably ever in our time. And he does Nightmare Neighbor Next Door. And he's doing Eggheads when it comes back again. Because I say to Daniel, I don't want to put you in a box where you just do news and current affairs. That will be you for the rest of your life. You need to have on your CV, I can also do features, and I can also do documentary, and I can also do things for 5 Star, and I can also do things for My 5, because then when you want to go to market and sell your wares, hopefully people will go, we've got an incredible all-rounder here who's just got hit show in all kinds of genres on their CV. I'm not sure the answer, and I'm not sure, I don't think the answer is going to be any help to you at all. All I think is, it kind of goes back to how do you get into television, get your foot in the door. If somebody wants to put you in a box, but it gets you in the door or gets you in the building, accept that you're going to be put in a box in that building, and then find the person and have the conversation, or prove, or cajole, or ask for the opportunity, and hope you find somebody there who goes, okay, now you want to move out of your box, you want to rogue slightly? Okay. Hard worker, turns up on time, lovely personality, hasn't let me down yet, wants to just expand their way of thinking, their way of working. I'm happy to give you a risk. Please don't let me down, kind of thing. And that might be the way that you manage to just get those elbows out of it. But I think doing it externally is probably very difficult. And I often think about if I was to go into an independent company, I'd just go into a company, get in there, and then I'd make my move, rather than trying to get external people to give me what I think I want. I need a kind of place to go in there. And then, I was thinking to myself, taking a leaf from Joe Biden, really, I would say I'm a transformative channel controller, in that all my channels that I've ever run have been transformed. Even when I was at Channel 4, I transformed Channel 4. I did, along with other people as well, but my department really transformed Channel 4 and TV3 and everything. And so I think it's about having maybe the attitude that I believe I'm a transformative person, but the best way to transform is by getting in there and then transforming. Once he's got the presidency, he can start transforming, rather than talking about it on the outside. And so it means that someone's going to employ you as a transitional person. We're going to bring Vinny in, and they're going to, whatever it is. So be it. If that's the way you want to give me the opportunity, so be it. I will take that opportunity. I will come in, and then I'm going to start my transformative process by identifying the people who really get it, who are not the people who suppress or repress or make you depressed, but the people who empower, the people who are forward thinking, the people who kind of have the creative control, the people who are going places, the people who have a positive energy. It's terrible advice, but what I suppose I'm trying to say is people sometimes can't see beyond their own, the end of their nose. And the only way you're going to get the chance to do what you believe you should be able to do and want to do is by getting onto the end of their nose kind of thing and just being so close to them. And then you can move around a bit.
Exactly.
It's kind of take any opportunity you can. It's like getting that foot, take any opportunity you can and then turn that opportunity to your advantage. They think they're just getting a series producer, or they think they're just getting a runner, or they think they're just getting a costume design. And you go, yeah, they are, but actually I'm going to use this to get X, Y, and Z. And even if it's something, even if it's just a transitional thing where you can add something onto your CV, or you can make a contact with someone who can help take you into the wider direction that you can go in. Again, searching for those positive bits that you can take to make the difference that you need to make, rather than expecting someone to go, I see you as a completely different person. You want to do drama now? I'm going to give you a drama. That's not going to happen. It's too much risk involved, it's too much money involved, too much politics involved and everything. But if you're working in a company and you start to talk to the drama people and go, I'd love to come and see you do filming, and I've always thought about this, that, and the other, and if I wanted to, how might I? You suddenly start to feel that the doors will open. I would be surprised. And if they don't, then that's not the right company for you. Again, a lot of it is about, I do my chanting, but a lot of it is about opening. I'm a great believer in the universe, opening up your life to the universe, saying, I want the right company to find me. I want to find the right people to work with. I am opening myself up to, I'm not going to prescribe it. It needs to be in Hoxton. It needs to pay me this much money. It needs to be, they need to do, Who are you to prescribe what is best for you when you're not quite sure where you're going to go? But if you open up your life to the universe and you say, universe, I want the chance to, I have on my list at the moment, I want to realize my full potential. Before I die, I want to realize my full potential. I don't know what that is. Maybe I'm going to be an artist. Maybe I'm going to give up television. Maybe I'm going to go and run a bakery. I don't know. But I just say to the universe, I want the chance to utilize my full potential, whatever that is. And I think that, I always feel like that is, at least you're doing something positive, which is by acknowledging you're up for it and you just want to be able to spot the opportunity when it comes along to go, oh my goodness me, there's an opportunity there. That could be the door to a whole new world. I'm going to go through that door.
I mean, I feel like that we've been talking, that we're secretly talking. Do you know what I mean? Because actually you share such similar sentiments to me. I do believe that we control. I'm a strong believer in the law of attraction. And
I'm
me
a
really
too.
Strong believer.
And also sometimes when you don't get what you really want, you're not meant to have it.
Absolutely.
And you will look back and you'll go,
thank God.
Thank goodness I didn't get that thing, because otherwise I wouldn't be here. Or if I'd married that person, imagine I wouldn't have the family and the life I have now. It's when you're my age, you start to see it in a slightly bigger picture than you.
But what's quite amazing is that on Wednesday we spoke a lot about detachment, and I actually think that you're given that life. So the idea that you set the intention very clearly, but you're not, and you know the outcome, that this is what I'd like the outcome to kind of look like, but you're so aware to the clues that bring you to that, and it might change along the way, but because you're so aware and not attached to not attached to that final outcome, you're really working yourself up to experiences. And and like you say, if somebody gives you an opportunity because they think you're, Vinny, they think you're an Asian lady and they think that you'll be good to talk to Muslim people, hey, take the bloody opportunity and then go in there and show them that I'm so much more than that. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, we haven't really talked about the commissioning process or what at all in this conversation, have we? Mm-hmm. We've talked about all the So, and I could have been thinking, I just want to be able to encourage people that the universe is a big thing and that it'll all turn out. And then here I have an opportunity. So, as you say, it's open yourselves up. Don't be prescriptive. Know the kind of thing. Know what would make you feel fulfilled. Don't be prescriptive in terms of exactly what it is, because you might think it's drama or you might think it's running a coffee shop, but actually it's running a boutique and it's looking after, theatre for children or something like that. And you will be utterly fulfilled without having about having determined that I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do that, and limiting your life. Don't limit your life.
Is there anybody else got any other questions? I mean, you're talking my heart, the kind of stuff that's like the philosophies that I live by.
Am I going a bit spiritual?
Oh yeah, no, I know. We're definitely saying that we're getting a bit tree huggy. This whole session is getting a bit tree huggy as we get into it. But I'm glad that you're in here kind of saying the same things, of the things that we're trying to say in terms of having a breakthrough. The breakthrough starts with you. You've got to be self-accountable, and it doesn't come anywhere else. You know what I mean? Put it out there. And
it doesn't mean that, you know, when you get the opportunity, you still got to work hard. You still got to turn up on time. You still got to deliver the goods. You've still got to prove that you are better than the other person you might be competing against. So, you know, I take my job really seriously. I mean, really, really, really seriously. And if I'm asked to do something, I do it. And if that means a call at 10 o'clock at night, then I'm on that call at 10 o'clock at night. That's what I'm paid to do. The kind of the spiritual thing is underneath it all, but at the end of the day, you still have, you know, role and responsibility, which is to come up with the ideas or make sure the production runs smoothly or keep the show on the budget or whatever it is that you all want to do. I presume you're all working in all different aspects of television.
Yeah. So somebody was saying that you've developed, so Ashok, I don't know if Ashok said, but he was saying that you've developed a reputation for commissioning 90 minutes one-off documentaries on serious subjects that stand out in the schedule. How do you think that these have played out for you? And why do you think other broadcasters are reluctant to follow your lead?
I think other broadcasters probably do. I think the BBC probably do serious subjects. You know, what have we done? We've done suicide, domestic abuse, miscarriage, bereavement. We've done some very heavy subjects. I mean, I think probably the one I think was the most different was Raped, My Story. And that came about because I was with a production company and they were brainstorming ideas that weren't very good, frankly. And I was getting a bit frustrated. And I said, look, what are the subjects that nobody does on television? And they said, well, you know, rape. And I said, well, let's do rape then. You know, if they don't do it, why don't we do it? How do you do it is a different question. And, you know, what is appropriate and what is not appropriate and what is the point and purpose of the program? They are all questions to be asked. But the fact that nobody had gone there and it's such an important issue, it's kind of like, well, this is a no-brainer. I did them because I find it creatively exciting to do things that nobody's done before and to go into kind of, well, I think dangerous territory, but difficult territory. Because I think to be able to, for me, it was about reassuring people they were not alone. I think that was probably the core point and premise of every single one of my different documentaries, whether it was bereavement or suicide. You are not alone. Others have gone through this. Do not think of yourself as just an individual. You can share with other people. Other people have experiences too. So, and I hope that people would get a little bit of reassurance by knowing that they were not in these terrible situations alone or hadn't had these terrible experiences alone. I did them because they were creatively challenging. I did them because I thought they said something about us as a channel. And some of them won awards, which was fantastic. They're not ratings grabbers. I mean, you know, it's not like you get 10 million people wanting to watch very difficult subjects. But I think we have a responsibility above and beyond our remit to use a very public platform and a very successful public platform with a lot of viewers to send messages. And the messages could be as simple as you're not alone, or it could be as simple as there's more to life than money, or it could be, you know, like everybody else, you're moving to the country and we are reflecting that back at you to reassure you as you make this big decision, or whatever. I'm sure a lot of our programs have, you know, subliminal messages. And I think it's important that we use our platform increasingly, I'm going to say increasingly, the caveat there, in an increasingly positive light.
I mean, one of the other questions was that actually it's from Vinny as well, was that Viacom has made diversity a big focus. And you made a comment like last year, you stated no diversity, no commissions. Were there any challenges to this, and how has that been?
Are there any what to that?
Was there any challenges to this?
No, I was kind of a little frustrated between us and everything is off the. I was a little frustrated that, you know, George Floyd was murdered, and then there was a big outcry. And we work for a very big global organization, and a lot of conversations were had. And I didn't think there was very much action. And I kept saying to Wincy, who I've mentioned before, you know, I'm really tired of talking about this. I mean, we can do something. You know, can we stop talking and do something? So I just said, I'm going to do no diversity, no commission. You know, it's within my department, within the commissioning team, you know, unless we know that there is diversity within the production team. And ideally, I'm aiming for 100%. It won't be, I'll never get to 100%, but the aim has to be 100% diversity within programming. We won't be working with those companies or doing that program until we're happy that it is a diverse production company. Everybody loved it. I didn't get any pushback at all. It's now been rolled out globally by Viacom. There are lots of discussions about what diversity means in different countries, and I think it is true to fair say that diversity in different countries is different. It could be sexual diversity, it could be age diversity. In Australia, I know they have a really big problem with women in senior roles. It's a very male-dominated country, Australia. And I'm not one to prescribe what their diversity should be or how they should go about tackling it, but I think the principle of saying we are going to action something rather than just talk about it is really important to me. So we did no diversity, no commission. We then did our New Faces, New Voices initiative, where we found 84 people who've not been on television before, who are diverse, across the diverse spectrum. And they are anything from archaeologists to historians to royal experts to food experts to consumer experts to whatever. And now it is the role and the responsibility of the commissioners to make sure that they use this talent that has now been found. Some of the talent could be amazing and might end up having their own show. Some of the talent will probably be pretty dreadful. But that's okay. It's just a chance to try and experiment and push that boundary and just make a difference. Just try and make a difference. There's not enough diversity on screen, and there's not enough senior, diverse people who can own a show. And I think it's really, when I was talking with Sebastian about a drama that we want to do next year, fronted by a Black diverse actress, and we Googled British Black actresses, you get like 12 names that you've heard of. EastEnders, Casualty, Herbie City, maybe Coronation Street. You go, whoa, it is terrible. It's not enough hitting that. Why do you think that is? You know, what I call the sort of like, you know, sitting in front room telly, you know, they're on the telly all the time. You know that you've got Trevor McDonald, Anita Rani, Lenny Henry. We know about those. But, you know, where are all the others? It's shocking. Whereas you've got Anton Deck and you've got all these other white presenters, but very, very few. And that needs real working on.
But so Ben, why do you think that is? Sorry to cut you, but why do you think that is? What is it? Because it's not for the lack of talent, like you said. You've done a search, and you've got 84 people.
Well, I think a lot of it is fear. I think, you know, if you think about ITV has not changed in the last. I've been back 8 years. In the last 8 years, still Anton Deck, it's still Stephen Mulhern, it's still Ben Shepherd from Good Morning Britain. It's the same old faces. They've diversified in terms of now they do game shows as well in the afternoon. And then they do a travel program as well in the late peak. But, you know, it's like, well, but where is the new talent? It's deeply shocking. I mean, I have to say fair play to the BBC, who, the couple who do the hit show, that is, you know, that is some diversity in prime time on a Saturday night, which is good. I think Amal Rajan, of course, is an absolute bloody star. And I think the BBC used the one show cleverly to introduce people to a broad audience. So that there is, so they're familiar faces, and that hopefully a lot of that talent will grow. But a lot of it is fear, because they're frightened that the show won't work, or it hasn't got a. You know, you've got a vicious circle, haven't you? You want a show with a familiar face on it, to get as many people as possible, so because they like that host, but you're not giving anybody the chance to be that new host. So you end up using the old host, and you're frightened to do it again. And it's just not going anywhere. You're just spinning on a sixpence. So we did New Faces, New Voices. And then we've got our own promotion opportunity project, because when we linked up with the TV task force, one of the things that really came to light was that not enough diverse people were being promoted beyond a certain level. It was like somebody just explained it as not a glass ceiling, it's a concrete ceiling. There's a terrible story about somebody who was a series producer, and then when they moved companies, they ended up having to go back to being a runner again. It's just like, excuse me, fuck. So the commissioners have taken it upon themselves to identify with the production companies that they're working with, talent who they think are not being given the opportunity to be to step up and are saying, I'm sorry, but if we're going to recommission this show again, that person needs to become the series producer, or that person needs to become the executive producer. And if we have to work a little bit harder in terms of making sure they are supported, so be it. But we have, each commissioner, the dream is that each commissioner will have identified one person who will get to break through that ceiling this year, and then we can do it again next year. So we're gradually, again, chipping away, rather than talking about, oh, people don't get promoted, people don't get promoted, yes, it's really bad. It's like, then you find the opportunity to give them that promotion, ensure they get that promotion, because the one lever we have is, well, you won't get the commission unless you promote that person and they do the job we want them to do. And then we enable that person to do the job well, and hopefully they will fly. And, you know, when I did my, the BAME-led indie scheme, you know, which was, you know, pragmatic idea, let's support small companies, BAME-led, and the idea was to give them a chance to get a foot in the door. And the commissioners each had one, and, you know, we had to come up with some of the ideas ourselves, you know, that's okay. We do that all the time for other people, so why not? So we made sure everybody got a commission. And the best thing that came out of that whole thing was, for me, the moment after Adrian Dunbar's Ireland program went out, and Daniel Pearl, who'd looked after Afro Mike, called me and said, they're so happy that the ratings were good, but best of all, the BBC have called them and they want to see them because they want them to make content for the BBC. And I went, that was the whole point of this. Yeah.
I mean,
it wasn't to get a hit show. It was so somebody would call them up and go, we want a piece of you as well. That was the point and purpose of that scheme.
For me, one of the beauties of that project, just to say that on the receiving end, is when those production companies came and rang me and said, could I put a job up because we've been commissioned to do this, and now we need people to work on this program that's been commissioned. And all of a sudden you see this amazing ecosystem that's happening. And also a lot of those companies, they did programs that you wouldn't traditionally have associated with them. And that's
very important. Well, yes, because Denise, one of the commissioning editors, said, you know, if you want to have, like, you know, black people, you know, why do they always have to do, like, you know, ghetto music, or, you know, Brixton in the 60s? Why can't they do gardening programs? Why can't they do a program about fashion, working at the Chanel shop in Knightsbridge or something like that? I'm going, exactly. So the great thing about my team is that everyone was really clear about the point and purpose, and in not putting people in going back to your point earlier on, putting people in the boxes. Oh, you're black, therefore you can only do programs about this kind of subject. You're going, no, directors can direct anything, producers can direct anything, writers can, you know, they're multi-talented, or they can spread across certain areas. Let's not pigeonhole people, let's give them a chance to do something different. But I think that so for me, the conversation is important, but more important than the conversation is actually taking action, however small that action is. And you won't always get it right, and you might upset people sometimes, and it might be a step too far, and you might rattle some cages and everything. But I'm very direct, and I'm who I am. I made it really clear to Wincy, I'm not engaging in conversations unless we take action, because I'm sick of talking and not making a difference. And even if it's only a small difference, we're going to make a difference, and we're going to move forward, and we're going to move forward, and we're going to move forward.
Yeah, and I think that I think it's such a template for the rest of the industry in terms of how they deal with smaller Black Asian-owned companies, and it was such an amazing illustration of how it can be done and how it can be done really well. And
you just do it. I didn't ask permission. I just did it.
And I think that was so powerful. It was the fact that you just did it, and in that doing it really gave people permission to be themselves and be wider.
And so when you move through the ranks, you guys move through the ranks, and, you know, you get into positions where you're in a company that, you know, you may not like the company, or you may think it's a bit of an old-fashioned company, or whatever it is, but you're in a position where you can start to influence by employing people. You will make a difference. You can change the culture of that company. It doesn't come necessarily from the top. It often comes from the ground upwards. So you're as a series producer, and you decide to employ people who will make a difference to that company. And then other people will see what you do, and they'll go, oh, that's really interesting. And other people will get a foot on the ladder, and they'll have a bit more influence. And suddenly you could turn back, and maybe not suddenly, but in a couple of years, you turn back and go, this is a completely different company to the one that I joined as a series producer, whatever. And I have made that difference because I used my position without talking about it, without frightening the horses, without rattling cages, to make a difference and to change the culture. You all have the power to do that.
be the change you want to be. The change you want to be. Basically, it takes one person, it takes action.
It takes absolutely one person. Just do it. Yeah.
Is anybody? I'm quite conscious of time, and there's somebody's got some questions around the commission. Has anybody else got any questions that they want to ask? Ben, while we have him here.
I just wanted to say, just off the back of that really resonates with me, Ben, because I've just started series producing on a program and was told that, there wasn't, and, some of the positions they couldn't find diversity to fill, but I actually made it. I was on a mission that actually I was going to fill those roles with diversity, because I do believe there's people out there, and now everybody's really happy with the ratio of diversity that I've got on the production. So I think, we can definitely make a change, and that's what I want to do.
It requires extra effort. A lot of people don't want to make the extra effort, but it can be done. You're absolutely right. And in a way, there's no excuses.
Yeah.
There's no excuses. There are people out there. You just got to make the effort to find them and give them a chance.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. Has anybody else got anything that they want to jump in and ask a question?
I'd like to ask a question. Ben, what's your thoughts in terms of diversity, in terms of future-proofing channels? Because what's your thoughts in terms of, if you're not diverse, whether that's behind the camera, whether that's on the screen in terms of your commissions, surely, you're not going to move forward with, I guess networks like Netflix or, so surely, I suppose what I'm trying to say is, would you agree it makes good business sense to embrace diversity across the commissioning process?
Oh, without question. I mean, I think there's stats and everything to prove it. I'm sure I've been in a few sessions with various companies who've come in and done presentations that having a diverse company makes you much more likely to be a successful company. But for me, it's like we can, that might be nice. It might be great to know that I'm going to stay a successful company or become a successful company. For me, it's almost slightly more basic. It's just like, if you don't make the effort and you don't make the change, it's just a bit of a whiff about you now. It's just not acceptable. It's the world has changed so much in the last, 5 years. It's just not acceptable anymore. You look at a program now, and if it's all white, it's kind of embarrassing. It's you kind of go, why? I remember when I talked to Lucy, Lucy's one of the commissioners, and she's really championed female directors, and she's worked very hard to give more female directors the chance to take over series, and is proud of her record, because she often says, I'm sorry, I'm not signing this off until I know there's a female director. And I remember talking to her years ago about history programs. I was saying, we need more diversity, and she goes, there aren't any black historians. And I went, okay, not quite sure that's true, Lucy. What we've got to do is find them and give them the chance to prove that they know their stuff. If they're no good, we won't use them. I mean, we're not a charity, but you can find these people, and they are out there. It just takes effort. And I think, as I said, while I know I will not hit 100%, and we commission a program in Cornwall, and they go, oh, there's not many black people in Cornwall. I'm going, find them. Somebody's running a fish and chip shop. Somebody is an artist. Somebody runs a garden center. Somebody runs outdoor activities. There's people there. You just got to go and find them. Just because they're not right under your nose doesn't mean to say that Cornwall is all white. And it requires real effort sometimes. But if you don't make the effort, you won't make the change. And I would rather people make the effort, if it costs me a bit of extra money, and I watch a program go out and I go, and you do, I squirm. I go, oh my God, it's all white. It looks really embarrassing. It's not true. It's not representative. Representative is the word I like to use. I want our programs to be representative of modern Britain, and that includes all aspects, of Britain, not just colour. And I think it's a really important thing. We should be representative of Britain. We know our audience, and I think the Anne Boleyn drama will be incredibly controversial for us. I received my first hate letter yesterday with no name and no email, calling me a xenophobe and a racist and this, that, and the other. It's kind of like, wow, okay, but you're not brave enough to put your name to it. And a lot of our traditional audience will not approve. and a lot of cooler, younger, more modern people will think it's very exciting. And I will be asked a lot of questions about why we've done it and should we have done it and do I regret doing it and what was the thinking behind it, etc. Okay, just go back to it. It just seems like a really exciting idea. And she's a really good actress. And, you know, it's a really good story and it's really well done. And I hope you like it. And if you don't like it, you can watch another channel. But as in terms of what projects that we've done recently, I think it's probably the most exciting one that we've done. Way more exciting than All Creatures Great and Small creatively. It's kind of brave, bold, says something about us. And I really hope it'll have a lot of conversation, start a lot of conversations.
And I think that takes us quite nicely to plans of Channel. I mean, I'm conscious that we're about to run out of time, but just your plans. What are your plans, current plans with Channel 5? What are the opportunities, commission opportunities? What are you kind of looking for? What are you doing at the, you know, what is the channel?
Well, we're always looking, you know, we're always looking for good ideas. I think we're increasingly going, we just had a long conversation this morning about some of our long running shows, which I'm keen to fade out. I think we're increasingly going upmarket. I think we're going increasingly aspirational. We've just moved into features. You know, having been at Channel 4 when it really made the change into features and driven a lot of that, I know a hit show. I still want hit show, but I think we can broaden our genres slightly more. I think we've got quite a lot of walking around Britain shows, but then I think every channel's got quite a lot of walking around Britain shows because that's all you could do in the last years. I'm keen to obviously diversify the schedule. I'm keen to break new talent, but I think it needs to be carefully done given our audience are quite conservative. I mean, essentially, I don't know what the answers are, but I want us to keep defying the odds and grow. And we grew last year and we grew the year before in a world where linear is declining. And this year we've been on we're on fire this year so far. I mean, I don't, you know, we're heading into a tough summer, but we'll do more drama. We'll move into, as I say, we'll move into features. I hope we'll still do controversial subjects that make people have conversations. A lot of it, you can't predict it. I can't tell you what the answers are. All I know is that we're very good at reading the room. We're good at reading the nation. And we're very quick and we move quite quickly. And we're very good at identifying subject matters and genres and ideas that really resonate. We create a lot of hit shows, new hit shows, unlike some of our competitors. And I want to keep doing that. It's all about content. It's all about creativity. It's all about the next idea. Our whole business, Firecom CBS, is all built on an idea, a program, a piece of content. Content really is king. All these big businesses, shares and people earning out £1 million earnouts and all that kind of stuff. If there was no content, if there were no programs, there wouldn't really be any business. So while the creatives and the people behind the camera and the writers and the whatever, oh, they're creatives, or they're different, or they're emotional, or they're very touchy-feely, or, you know, they don't really understand business. We may not understand business, but without us, there would be no business. So never underestimate the power that you have and the influence that you have and the value of what you do to make this industry so successful.
Fantastic, and beautiful timing as well. Bang on the money, 1:30. That's amazing. Thank you so much. I hope you guys found that really useful. I mean, for me, I did.
Thank you.
And even just
Thanks, Ben.
Sorry if I got a bit spiritual.
No, it was great.
How long does this scheme go on for?
We're going on with 12 months, so until the end of December. We're making an announcement. I keep telling these guys I'm making announcements every day, but we're actually making an announcement next week we've got some the most amazing mentors. We've got some industry masterclasses led by yourself. We've got Ann Mensa coming in. We've got Rio, where are you, darling? Who else have we got? We've got Kate from Netflix. We've just got some amazing Fiona Campbell.
Great, fantastic.
Some really amazing support. So absolutely.
Well, I hope it goes really well. Let me know if there's anything else I can do for you all, and I wish you all the very best of luck.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, good luck. I'm sure I'll meet you
so much.
again.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Ben.
Bye.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Have a fantastic bank holiday weekend.
And you. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.